I'm going to sit down in a minute, but I have the same background as Ivo has. I'm used to teaching besides research, so I'm going to do some interactive. One question, and then you can sit down, relax, and fall asleep again. For the next 20 to 25 minutes, I'm going to talk about consumer innovativeness or consumer innovative behavior in a fruit context. Ivo was talking about some consumer behavior, and this is a more specific kind of consumer behavior we're talking about. I just want to ask one question. I'm going to start off very general and then going back to the fruit context and to specific behavior in this fruit context. If you look at innovations, general innovations, not just fruit, how many percentage fails? What do you think about? So there's 10 new innovations. How many of these succeed or fail? Any idea? 9 fail or succeed? Okay, then thank you. This was my presentation. Now, you don't have to read anything anymore. What you see from literature reviews, as well as in the food and drink industry, most new products fail. That's what Martinez and Brie says, and your estimate is quite correct. Like 10 to 15% is only successful, which for my business or for consumer behavior means that there's a lot of work to do in explaining and how to get these products more successful. I'm going to give you some fruitful innovation examples just to give you an idea of what the experts came up with. I'm giving you some general ideas on why do these innovations succeed or fail. Then the introduction into the topic of consumer innovativeness, which leads to a conceptual model we use to do the actual research in a couple of countries. Some ideas for some future steps on what is next. So we're in the middle of this work package 1.3 work, and there's a lot to be done, and I'm going to focus on that for a bit. And then finally some possible issues for EU policies. And I was looking at these possible issues this morning, and I thought, well, it's actually some statements. So you can use it as conclusions, but you also can use it as a statement of what I think should follow up after this kind of research. If you look at some fruit examples, well, we had about 200 fruit examples of the experts within ISAFRUIT. So we asked them, give us a list and give us some examples and give us some characteristics, and I just give you 4 or 5 ideas on what they came up with. So if you want the whole list, then you ask me later on, and I'll send you to the right sources. But this was one of them. So new organic products. You have some prepared cut fruit salads. Most of you, well, if you're from the Netherlands, then most of these products are pretty familiar. But if you look at Spain or Greece, there's a lot of differences between the countries in development of these innovations. Exotic fruits, I have no idea. This is some Chinese thing. Then there's, of course, the fruit drinks. We've already heard before the hero fruit today, and duo fruit is something which is now developed in Poland. And some new fresh organic fruit. Well, it's general, some fresh products with new characteristics like allergenic free or natural, innovations like that. So this is just 5 of over 200 we received from the experts. If you look at these innovations, why do they succeed or fail? In general, there's a very nice literature review by Greenall a couple of years ago. They had some diffusion of innovations literature study in health services, but they use management and marketing as well to come up with a very complex overall model. This is like the summary of this model, is that there's 6 broad categories. It's the innovation itself, so product characteristics. It's the adoption process, so it's the consumer, which I'm going to emphasize on a bit later. Communication and influence, which is, well, it's consumers in groups actually, so social networks. And these first 3, that's what work package 1.3 is about, so that's the emphasis on our work. If you look at the other 3, so the inner organizational, the outer context, the implementation process, Some of these topics Ruud is going to talk about that is in work package 1.4. So the chain behind this innovation is more the work of 1.4 and especially also 1.5. So again, 1.3 is about these first three. I'm just giving you a glance of ideas because this review was like huge and there were like 25, 30, even 40 ideas of what are success or failure factors. The first one is relative advantage. So if you come up with a new fruit, why should I, as a consumer, buy it? I mean, an apple is an apple. That could be an idea of a consumer. So what is this new apple? If you talk about antioxidants or if you talk about natural or organic prepared, what's new about it? So the relative advantage, what can I get from it? That's one of them. If you look about compatibility, I use now a product and the new product should have some relative advantage, but there's this tension. It should also be something you can compare with and you can use instead of what you're using already. Then there's complexity. If you look at, for example, these fruit mixes or what somebody called smoothies this morning, it could be too complex. Then there's the trialability. Can I use it before I actually buy it? And of course, if you look at perceived risk in food, well, this is a general idea of innovations, but if you look in food, for example, the new discussion on nanotechnology and GM in food, that's what do people think about it if you look at a new product like this. If you look at adoption by individuals, there's two, well, there's actually more, but there's two main ideas on what could be success or failure factors. There's general psychological antecedents and context specific. These two I'm going to emphasize later in the conceptual model for the fruit context. So I'm going to elaborate on these two a bit more because that's my hobby or my work or whatever we do in consumer behavior. Then there is communication and influence. Three very interesting factors is social networks, word of mouth communication, in-group, out-group participants, do you have strong ties with groups, and so that social networks is more group processes. If one person in a group is going to adopt a new innovation or eat a new fruit, is he, for example, an opinion leader, and do people listen to him, and is that the reason why we adopt as well? These kinds of questions arise when you talk about opinion leadership, and champions, of course, you see them in organizations, but you also see them in groups or in sports, examples, role models who use these kind of, for example, new products. In short, as I said, there's like a very large variety of success and failure characteristics. So there's a lot of insight already on what these characteristics are, but there's a lot of work to do for me as a consumer behavior. Consumer innovativeness. Why bother consumer innovativeness? What you see is, and that's Hauser did a very nice study in 2006. He said, well, successful innovation rests on the understanding of consumer needs. And one of the ideas is, well, consumer innovation could help explaining these needs. So it could, if you know why people are more innovative than others and what are the triggers, then you can help to explain why innovations succeed or fail. A general definition, there's truckloads of definitions. One general is very simple. It refers to an interest in new products and willingness to try them. Well, in other words, why do people buy certain products earlier than others? What do they have for characteristics and what kind of social networks are they? What's the trigger, actually?